Hey everybody, welcome to our trick or treat Halloween edition of the Joy of SharePoint. We're going to get started here in about 2 minutes or so, so you've still got some time to get your favorite candy, some caffeine, and buckle up. We'll be right back.
And if you're lucky, your favorite candy is caffeinated.
That is the truth, my friend. I am showing it's go time, but it looks like we've still got people joining, so we're just going to chill for another minute or so. So Patrick, did you get your Amazon Prime costume all taped up and ready to go?
I did. It's looking good.
Fantastic.
Yeah, just so happens I had enough boxes laying around from, a fairly severe Amazon Prime addiction. And, just when you got a pile of boxes in the corner, I mean, you got to make a costume out of something, right?
Well, that's what they call upcycling, right?
That's exactly right. And as a, earth-conscious millennial, it's a top priority there.
I mean, absolutely. All right, so I'm going to jump into introductions now. Again, if you're just now joining us, welcome to the Joy of SharePoint Halloween edition. We're going to talk about trick or treat, and we're going to look at the modern interfaces that Microsoft has been introducing us to inside of SharePoint. I have with me Patrick Lipka. He is one of our developers at Pate Group, and he disclosed to me for Halloween he's going to be Amazon Prime, a cubic warrior from another planet who delivers solutions and products faster than any other, I don't know, superhero? Maybe that's a good description.
It's like Optimus Prime, but with Amazon boxes.
Yeah. You have drones, because that's when it starts to get creepy.
Yeah, that'll be next year. We'll add on.
Yeah, I gotta save up for that. Stephen Wilson is with us today. So he's been working with SharePoint a little longer than I have, since 2007. I believe he said a complex PowerShell script was going to be his costume of choice this year. I am curious to see how you pull that off, Stephen.
I imagine it'll probably end in an error almost immediately.
Go figure. That's when
Yeah,
you just
go
put, like
figure.
apples and bananas in your trick-or-treat bag, right?
Yes.
And of course, I am Joy Turner from the Joy of SharePoint. I've been doing SharePoint for a little while, just like these other fine fellows have. My Halloween costume of choice would be She-Hulk. If I could, I would be She-Hulk every day. She's my hero because she can smash stuff. All right, let's jump in to modern interfaces. So really one of the exciting things about the modern sites and pages that Microsoft has unveiled to us over the last months is they're pretty, right? It's eye candy. You got these beautiful images, content is organized in clean, I hate to overuse the word, but modern ways. It just looks up to date. In fact, you know, SharePoint 2010 kind of used to be my favorite interface, but it looks a little cartoony now when I see it after having worked with the more modern versions of SharePoint that are out there now. It works great with mobile. You know, we have sites and pages now that can go from our desktops to our smartphones and our tablets very easily. And that's pretty exciting for those of us who have been working with clients who need mobile and the classic interfaces just don't do it. You'll have to excuse me, I am just getting over one of the worst colds ever, so I may occasionally mute so I can clear my throat a little bit. So let's start off with everybody's favorite, at least it seems to be, the communication sites. Communication sites are gorgeous. There's no other way to say it. They're very pretty. They visually focus the content that we put on the page. They're very easy to edit, and they are perfect for one-way communication. And what I mean by one-way communication is we have content we're wanting to share with our audience. That could be our internal organization or external folks that we have invited in. And this is the perfect platform for that. That's the treats. Let's go in. Let me find my page. So here's the actual communication site rather than just looking at slides today. I want to actually be in the environment a little bit. So we have at the top what has been called the hero web part. It gives us these images that's completely editable, if that is a word. I have a nice pretty big one, and then I can hyperlink any of these to take my audience to the content that I think is the most important that I put at the top of the page. Sounds like somebody might be doing some furniture moving. If I decide I want to edit this, I mean, it's pretty easy. Got my nice edit button in the upper right-hand corner.
Hey, Joy, sorry to interrupt you. Is the you got the PowerPoint up there? I think.
No, I have the communication site.
Your time hasn't moved in quite some time, and we're not seeing any changes on the screen.
Let's double check my sharing here.
There we go. That updated the time at least. Okay, we're good. So we're looking at the same screen, but now things might move.
How's that looking now? Can you see my cursor moving around?
Yep.
Yep, looks good.
Woo! All right. Gotta love technology. So, editing our communication site. Pretty much wherever I move my mouse, it's going to give me options to edit. If I want to edit just one image here in my hero web part, I can absolutely do that. So I have the edit pane that opens up on the right-hand side of the screen. I can change the link to where this image is taking my users. I can have a title. I can choose to show this or not. It's completely up to you. So you can tell I haven't updated this from the default text that rolls out with the site. And there's my choice to show the title or not. If I want to change the image, I can absolutely do that. My change here, we're going to play with editing a page later. We'll walk through that. But I could choose to make this a color only, like I have my Modern Team Site tile and the Learn More tile. If I wanted to change the layout of the whole web part, you'll notice I've got this little editing menu just to the left of the web part. So I click the little pencil there. I can choose if I want to have one tile. It will take the main one. 2, 3, 4, 5. Really, however you want to display this information to your users. I'm going to click it back to 5. Let's scroll on down. The news web part, I think, is gorgeous. I'm going to use that word a lot, I think, on this page. It's very easy to come in and add more content. If I wanted to edit any of this, I've got the menu here. You know, this little grab bar lets me move it up or down on my screen. She said, hopefully. Okay, of course, we're doing a live demo, so it's not going to cooperate. We're used to this, right? If you do page editing in SharePoint at all, you know, sometimes it's just kind of how you hold your mouth when you're doing it. If I want to save this, see it says up here, SharePoint's doing an autosave. Your page has been saved. I could go to the left and discard those changes if I decide I didn't like that. I can close and leave this in a draft stage, just like standard SharePoint. Or if I like it, I'm ready to rock and roll, I can just come up here and hit publish. All right, and next time someone hits the page, changes will show. If I want to add content to this news web part, it's just as simple as clicking add, naming my page. Now this is a modern page. We're going to talk about this more as we go on. Tricky thing to me, you guys may have other opinions. For my news web part, I like the way it shows content. I like the way it's displayed, and I like how easy it is to edit it. But perhaps I wanted to show news that's related to a specific department, or maybe even health and wellness in one news web part, and then general company information in another. At this point in the life cycle of the communication sites, I cannot do that. If I put another news web part on the page, it's going to display the exact same content. Stephen, Patrick, you guys work with clients a lot. Have you run into any frustration with that? I have a couple of times, but I don't know how widespread that is.
I haven't seen a lot of it yet because a lot of people aren't really using this, but it does bring me to one of my downsides of the communication page. As pretty as it is, it's not flexible in terms of you know, any kind of creativity. Like, it gives you what it gives you, and what it gives you is pretty, but getting fancy at all, you know, if you want to go anywhere outside the box, it pretty much doesn't let you unless you get into the development world. And so things like that, you know, no matter how frustrated they may be with it, there's not an easy way to address it except for just, you know, doing a completely different kind of content. But you can't, you know, if they say, you know, what can we do to modify it? Not much right now, unless you want to get into the developer world.
Patrick, have you had the pleasure?
Oh, not a lot, but I think part of SharePoint's focus now with communication sites has been that this is going to be, you know, not static content. That's not the right word, because we're still bringing in content for different sources. But this is all about presenting it, right? This is all about keeping a consistent feel across an experience. So this isn't necessarily meant to be collaborative or interactive. This is meant to present your data at once and keep a similar feel so that when you keep going back day after day, or when you send other team members to view it, that they're going to have the same experience each time, so that things aren't running off the page, things aren't, you know, content's not where it's, you know, where it shouldn't be after things have moved around or after data has been added. It's meant to be a presentation of what you already have, and not necessarily editing things that, you know, moving things around. You want to make sure that the content you're adding there is going to be consistent.
Agreed. And I have to admit, one of my weaknesses with SharePoint is making it look pretty. I always say I'm a functional person. I'm not a pretty person. So I'm not good at making things pretty, but I can make it work. So people are like, well, that's really great, but can you make it look better? And I always go, why do you care? And I kind of get it. I do. I mean, we want our web pages to look attractive, but for me, that attractiveness is in the functionality and the way the data is structured on the page for people to consume it easily and not be overwhelmed by too much on the screen. But Patrick, you probably know more about this than most people when it comes to designing things to make them look pretty or going in with code and making custom functionality. In the new world, Microsoft is releasing these updates so quickly, we can't guarantee that custom work is going to stick for very long. Would you agree with that, or?
Totally. And you know, the SharePoint framework, how we're interacting with these new sites is changing all the time. We previously couldn't inject our own JavaScript or our own code into the new experience, but now we can use SharePoint framework extensions. We have new capabilities that are coming out every few months, and there's plenty on the roadmap ahead that are going to allow us to customize this more. But you have to keep in mind that you have to follow Microsoft's philosophy. Everything that you do for this new experience on these sites has to be mobile first. It has to be, you have to keep in mind that everything you make needs to be fluid. It needs to roll up nicely, and it needs to fall into their mobile view intention for what the site's going to be. I mean, you can't get away with creating static content and static sizes anymore. Everything has to be keeping in mind that the page needs to stay responsive, that the content needs to fluidly adjust its size in order to fit tablets and mobile screens and the desktop screen. So it's important to keep that philosophy in mind when you're thinking about customizing something or thinking about implementing a feature that isn't there yet.
Gotcha.
And I think it's kind of a harder limit of something I've always tried to tell customers, that the fastest way to get in trouble with SharePoint is to not do something the SharePoint way. These pages go a long way to preventing you from not going the SharePoint way. There's not really an escape hatch here.
That's a good way to put it. Some colleagues and I years ago came up with the 4 S's of SharePoint, which is simple. SharePoint seldom sucks. She might not be gorgeous or win beauty pageants, but she's going to work, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Well, I will say one of my favorite things that they've done, and it's a small thing, but it's this event web part. I think it's fantastic the way it works with our calendar events. In fact, let's talk about this for a second. After I poke at this for a second, I'm going to show you how this translates over to a mobile device. So sure, we'll do this on Halloween.
I thought you were going to put like a vegetarian day at work or something.
No, I am a carnivore. So for many, many, many years, people have wanted maps in SharePoint, all that fun stuff. You know, we're getting closer and closer to do that just out of the box. Once I put my location for my meeting invite or my entry, I get a Bing map right here. If I've got a URL, I can throw that in. It just makes it really, really nice. You can put like a name or email address. You know, that could be the contact. I'll just volunteer myself for Vegas. Heck yeah. The categories are still the same weird categories that have always been in the calendar. I don't know why we have an event for gifts, but I mean, if they're for me, I'm all for it. Excuse me. So, okay, I get all my content. Thank you. We were joking yesterday in Scrum that this would be my Halloween thing. This is my Walking Dead voice. All right. So now I will say I wish I had a little bit more options here. Maybe go back or close. Just to close this would be nice. I can send it by email to someone. I think that's a nice little button to have available. So to go to the home screen just to see my change live. Get my home screen pulled up, scroll down to the bottom. There it is. And ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't noticed it already, check this out. Add to my calendar. That is not your SharePoint calendar. That actually is your Outlook calendar. Thank you, Microsoft. Now, if we could just sync the entire calendar at once to our personal calendars, I think that would make a lot of people very happy.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very common request. All right, I'm now going to slide over my cell phone screen. Now, if any of you are interested in an app so you can mirror your screen to your computer, your phone screen, I found Mirroring 360 about 6 months ago, and I do really like it. It is a subscription, but it's not very much. I think it was like $20 for the year. And this is great for me. So here's what this site looks like mobile. Notice I have to scroll through those pictures in the web part, the hero web part, which is not unexpected. But do keep in mind, if you're going to have 5 pictures there, you need to think about how important the content is in them and where you're taking people. Because if it's number 4 or 5, you know, people may not have the patience to scroll all the way to that when they go mobile. I'm going to try to scroll slow because I hear this can be kind of laggy. But I get a really nice layout here. I am very pleased with how this lays out on a smartphone. And this is, I've got an iPhone, what is it, a 6S? It's not a big screen, but I mean, it does very, very well. And I'm going to zoom to the top. This may look awful for you guys watching at home. Oh. Back it up. I'm going to take this directly into my Modern Team site. So I'm just going to click that link. Ta-da! There's still the default SharePoint or Microsoft picture there. Same thing in our Modern Team sites, right? Hero web part, news, events. You know, it's the same basic principle. Let me minimize that. Here's what it looks like on the big screen. Now, both of these guys, I get them when I'm on my SharePoint page. Let me just go there real quick. So it's a little different when it comes to creating the communication sites and the team sites. I create a site here. And it'll ask me if I want a team site or a communication site. So it's a little different. We're not doing this through central administration, and on the flip side of that, I'm not going to manage these in central administration the same way I do my other site collections. I believe right now the method of choice for doing that is going to be PowerShell. Am I correct on that, Mr. Wilson?
If you were going to create a modern site collection, yes. So if like the entire site collection is going to be, you know, created with modern from the beginning, they still don't have a possibility for doing it in central administration. So if you're going to do it anywhere except for where you just did it, you have to do it with PowerShell.
And I realize I'm using the old school term for that instead of the SharePoint admin panel.
Yes.
Oops. What happens when you get old? You get set in your ways. So on my modern site, if I want to create a new page, I go up to the ever favorite gear here in the upper right hand corner, add a page. I'm going to get a modern page as the default one, which is perfectly fine. That's kind of where the world is moving. I will say this. If you're trying to decide how you want to lay out and architect your new intranet to be mobile friendly, no matter where your users are coming in from or going to, a lot of people are leaning towards the communication sites just because they're getting a lot of press right now. and again, visually appealing. But if I go to my site contents, and maybe I need to create a contacts list, I can't really do that in a communication site at this point in time. I'll say app. Now these are all custom apps that we've got installed from the store or things that we're evaluating. But you see, I don't have the option to create much more than a document library, a custom list, and then there's that site mailbox, which really isn't what I need for my intranet home. Maybe I'll search for it and see if it'll pop up. No, I get the Access app. Please don't add the Access app to your communication site.
Or really any site,
Or
because
any site ever. Nobody needs that in their life. So if you're wanting to do some architecture with these gorgeous new sites, you know, communication site might make a lot of sense for your top level homepage. People are coming and consuming but not working there a whole lot. But let's come here and go to a team site, and I'll show you why. When I come to my team site, I'm going to get more options. There's my task list that I'm used to seeing, my document libraries. If I want a picture library, I'm going to have that availability in my team site. I don't get that inside the communication sites. So for functionality and work, boots on the ground, you know, knocking out the day-to-day grind, team site is still your go-to. Now, if you currently have a team site that's built up and your content's there and you really aren't relishing the idea of moving that content around, you can, in your classic team sites, go into your pages library. Eventually, you know, once it loads. Let's see here. There's my site pages. And if I go to the new button, here we go, and I click on site page, that's going to give me the nice, new, modern SharePoint page. So I could take my classic site and give it a modern page, which would give it a mobile-friendly ability. And you may want to target your few pages that you have and start maybe converting those over to modern pages if there's a need for mobile. If you're not ready for mobile yet, maybe start familiarizing yourself with these guys. But I wouldn't say that there's a real need to go do a whole lot of work unless you just really like the way they present your content. Here's one that I just put a little bit of stuff on before the webinar. I modified, let me hit the edit button, that little gray banner that's across the top that's kind of ugly. When they first rolled out, you couldn't edit that, but now you can. You can add a picture, a banner, or probably even some color to that. Here's my news web part that I threw on the page. I haven't created any news items yet. I put one of my lists on here. Stephen, how do you feel about putting lists on a modern page?
I'm not a big fan for a couple of reasons. One, it doesn't give you a whole lot of flexibility in terms of like what you show. So like you can't use your list views very efficiently. Obviously, if it's a large list, it's going to look terrible trying to show it on a page. And because of the nature of what you're trying to display, if you like narrow it down that screen or you show it like on mobile, it doesn't collapse the way you want it to usually. And so I think that, you know, it can be done very sparingly, but it should be done for the purpose of like being a path to something for people. But you're not going to use it to to show them a lot of content or anything like that. You don't want to do just like a a list view of, say, events or something like that. You're going to want to use like the events web part, that kind of thing. So it's nice that it's a possibility, but you want to use it sparingly.
Agreed. And that might make more sense to have it off on a separate page. Like perhaps have a quick link where you can put your link to the list and then display it in that fashion. But of course, then you're like, why not just go to the list itself?
Right.
I haven't figured out the logic here yet. It almost feels like they're like, well, we need them to be able to put their lists and libraries on the page, so let's give them this, and then we'll add functionality later.
Well, and the same thing, like you were talking about the team sites versus the communication sites and the options available. The quick links really is just that, but neither one of these is very suited for something that has like a deep navigational structure. If you've got 20 subsites and you've got 50 libraries that you want to be able to lead people to, this is probably not the page type you want to use.
Agreed. When you mentioned when we were just chatting before we got started that you see the need for actual navigation pages using these modern interfaces.
Or at least a more robust web part for navigation, because you can't really do anything with the navigation at the top. The navigation on the side doesn't work the way that it does currently in SharePoint. You can edit it somewhat, but again, you're going to want to do it sparingly because it doesn't degrade as usefully in the mobile view. So, the sidebar there where you can edit that doesn't show up by default in the mobile view. Like it narrows down to just the main panel here.
And I've been asked a lot about making the navigation drop downs, but again, you're probably there impeding usability on the mobile platform.
So if that's one of your main purposes, like you're trying to navigate to places, you're going to lose all of whatever you do along the edges in mobile.
Yeah. I'm going to launch a poll real quick that I see I have a typo in. We'll just say I was using my pirate voice. Just if any of you are using modern sites now, yes, no, maybe it's coming soon. Be curious to see how many of you have jumped into this yet. While you do that, I'm just going to show you how ridiculously easy it is to add a news item. I'm going to click Add, name my page Candy because it's Halloween. Maybe I don't know, maybe I want a banner here. Here's some recent ones. Let's just kind of see what our options are here. If I look at the site, let's go see if I want to pick anything from my existing libraries, but maybe I just want to upload from where I've already got some stuff. I'm going to grab this fall picture here. So that's a full screen image, so it's going to be too big for my banner, but let's just see what happens. So I get to a section of it. I don't want to say cross section if that's the right word. Once this finishes uploading.
Hey Joy, I'm not sure that the screen share is enabled while the poll's open.
Yeah.
And WebEx throwing the curveball at you.
Well, let's see. Well, right now our progress, it's showing. Let me just cancel what I'm doing. 16% say yes. All right. 59 say no. 24% say it's coming soon. Okay, good deal. So that 16% of you that are out there and going, awesome. You are living on what Stephanie and I referred to yesterday as the bleeding edge of Microsoft technology, getting out there and going quick. All right, I'm going to give it to the count of 3 and then go ahead and close this. So if you haven't voted, I'm going to say 3, 2, 1, and close. All right.
There we go.
Okay, so I've got my Candy page open. Now I'll go upload my really huge image. You know, this is something that we've preached in SharePoint days of past, or days of yore, about big pictures inside of SharePoint because it takes time to load, right? We're coming into a day and age where we're going to need those high-resolution images to make these sites look up to their potential. So I find that interesting. So I loaded that picture that's really too big for this section, but I can use this little doohickey to kind of choose where I want the focus to be. I kind of like that. And I have a set focal point. I can bring it back if I need to, if I want to kind of zoom it around. Then I want to add text. So there's my text web part. I can do bulleted lists here. I have some font options, normal headings. The pull quote's kind of nice if you're setting up a page, you want to do a call out to some of your information. I can pretty much edit this page like I could any other page at this point. I've got my text. I could go through and insert a link. I can put additional web parts here if I wanted to take people to links about trick-or-treat safety, making sure, you know, they've got visibility while out there on the streets at night. Build this up, make it very informational. When I'm done, if I don't want to publish it, I can just save and close. Or if this is all I need, I can hit publish. Let SharePoint work its magic. I get this gorgeous, the whole full picture there, but it's just the little sliver of it on the main page. If I needed to add more, you know, I just go to work. In old SharePoint, to do this, I would have had to gone to the page library, created a new page, done the upload of the images, then come in and linked it here somehow. We kind of had to play hopscotch around the site to get the content going. You know, the new modern pages and this news web part just makes it happen from one place. I think that's really nice. It's definitely one of the treats.
And I believe, like, if you were to like dig in with like the developer tools, or you know, just do like the statistics on the images, for the most part in the background, SharePoint is resizing these things. So like where you see that whole image, it's not actually taking like a, you know, a 4K image and showing it on the screen small. It's resizing it so that it's bandwidth friendly.
Which was a feature that would have been dearly loved mere years ago.
Oh, yeah.
For sure. So, just to recap, we get our communication sites. In them, we have modern pages and only modern pages. Then our team sites. Our modern team sites, again, come with our modern pages. I have the ability, though, in those modern team sites to go back and use my web part pages, use my wiki pages. If I need a page that I can really customize and put all kinds of stuff on, you know, I need to go back to my wiki or web part pages for that. But my modern pages are what's going to give me that mobile experience. Now on to one of my favorite things. I've got another poll for you guys. So I want to talk about the modern list, see if I dismiss that, the modern list and library interface. So I'm going to launch one more poll. I'm just curious. What was your first thought the first time you opened up one of your old familiar lists and libraries and you had the new view? Got 8% voted. Oh. These are good numbers I'm seeing. So far, I'm in the minority of what my response was. Yeah, the first time I went to it, I was like, where's my ribbon? Where's my list tab? Where's my, I don't know what's happened here. And I'll confess the
Well, to
first,
be fair, when you first saw it, that was probably the correct answer. Uh,
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, they have worked on the modern list view a good bit.
Oh gosh, that's true. You know, we're living on the edge, guys. I mean, you wake up and something new is there. But yeah, I did. I was like, I don't know what to do with this. Give me my ribbon back. And then I went. Say again. Yeah,
Nothing.
I went and I hit that Return to Classic SharePoint button really fast.
And you lost a lot if you didn't. You lose less now.
That's true.
Yeah, when it first happened, it was kind of like, nope, 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 nope.
I'll tell you, my big gripe was it when I first saw it. I spent some time and I wanted to, develop a very nice view for it. So I went and, showed all these columns and got it in the right order and spent all this time setting it all up. And then I didn't realize that it doesn't save the view when you leave the page. You have to actually edit or create a view from the current view. And I just kind of intuitively thought, like, oh, show or hide columns. Let's just select the view on here and click apply, and then it's going to save it and as the current view. Not unless you tell it to.
Not unless you tell it to. Yeah, and that's the number one thing I wish they would put back is just the button that says Create View. So it looks like voting has slowed down. 54% have voted. Going to close here in just a minute. So far I'm seeing 30% say cool, 40% say what happened, and 30 said nope, where's the old view? I definitely fell into that. Got a few more in before I closed. Ended with 33% at cool, 38 at what happened, and 29 at nope. Yeah, I was definitely the nope category. In fact, the first time I hit site page and that modern page opened, I looked at it and I was like, I don't even know what this is. And I just closed it because I was busy. I didn't have time to mess with it. So here we are. Welcome to the modern list view or library view, as happens to be the case now. My ribbon is gone, but I do have a toolbar. All right, so we click New. It gives me the entire Office suite, basically, to choose from, plus a link. So we can now add links to our document libraries. My first thought is, but that's not a document, but I do have customers where this would be really helpful for their one list to rule them all need. Still have my upload. I do like that quick edit is just right here. I don't have to look for it anymore. If I have a flow, I can start that flow very quickly and easily from the toolbar. And it is also nice that I have the option to go to the flow website and manage all the flows that I have out throughout every environment I work in. Then I can expand this and set the alerts. Now, Patrick, what you were talking about with the views, so they're all the way over here on the right, which kind of is back like in the olden days. So I could put this in the tile view. This is nice. I have this little information thing here, files that need attention. That's directing me to this one guy I've got here that I don't have a category selected, and category is a required field. Now I could edit this current view, but that's going to change my all documents view. You notice I don't have that create view like Patrick was talking about. So let's kind of poke here and see what happens. I've got my plus sign where I can add a column. I can create any of these guys. More is going to take me to this old familiar page where I can create my column. That's fantastic. Back that up. Give it a second to load. Show hide columns. So this is going to be the columns that are already created. I do like this. This is nice. So I don't have to go and do a lot of clicking around to come in and there we go. Sure. Add these other guys. And here's what Patrick was talking about. He hit apply. Apply kind of means, okay, let's do it. But it's not going to save it. And the only way you know you've got to change pending is that little tiny asterisk right there. If you can see that on the screen. So now what I need to do is save view as.
And I believe that most of that wasn't even there at first.
It was not.
And so you actually had to scramble to find your way into the settings for the library outside of this page.
Mm-hmm.
And then create the view there to get a new view that could be chosen from the drop down. So that's why I said, at first it was probably the right answer, because I think at the very beginning even the quick edit wasn't there. And so there were a lot of things missing.
A lot of things missing. And yeah, like you said, you had to go to your library settings and then go to create view. But if we just wake up and this is brand new and fresh, okay, where's my library tab? Not here. So where's my library settings? Well, oh, here it is.
Yep.
And while we're looking at our little site actions gear, notice we've got some other stuff here too that's pretty new. Site information and site permissions. I'm getting that now in my modern world of SharePoint. So site information is not particularly useful, but you will go to the settings page if you click this All Site Settings link. Same with site permissions. A little detour here. So I can see very quickly who my owners, members, and visitors are. And I will not get on my soapbox exactly, but if you currently are managing users outside of groups, stop it. Put them in groups. Even if it's an Active Directory group, put it in a SharePoint group. So when you come here, you can very quickly and easily see who is there. Okay. That's all I'm going to say about that. Now let's get back and talk about our list. So if I need to do a lot of stuff to these guys, I do have my one of my favorite on-site users called the 3-dot box. It goes up and down now instead of side to side, but that's okay. A lot of my commands got put back into the item menu in the root of the library. It can get a little lengthy, but that's okay. Version history, rename, a really quick way to rename our files. I think it's great having that there as an option. More is where you get to your checkout and your publishing and your properties. It feels a little clunky at first, especially when I see like this guy here. He's got a field that needs to be filled out. So I could go here, and then I would find more, go to properties, and open a new web page. Unless you utilize this little tiny button up in the far corner on the right-hand side of the page called the Details pane. This guy's quickly become one of my new best friends. So I can see a thumbnail of the item that I've got opened, content type, all these columns I've got here, I can see this. And I can either edit all using this link, or I can just address the issue at hand. I click outside of that, SharePoint will go save it, put that value in the list, and I can see who has access to it. I do like this information pane. It's a lifesaver when it comes to click distance to edit your properties or to even view your properties. It's a pretty sweet little guy. And I can close it to get more of my screen real estate back. And you can do your real quick on the fly filtering here. So let's see, PowerPoints. And obviously I haven't published anything recently because I'm lazy. But I've got really rich filtering capabilities right here.
I will say when the modern site, or when the modern view for the lists and libraries first came out, a Microsoft MVP who will remain nameless encouraged me and encouraged customers to switch to the classic view for the express purpose of there were enough functions lost that they really did need to switch to the classic view, but also because Microsoft does almost everything by the analytics that they get from the sites. And as long as they saw people switching to the classic view, they wouldn't take it away. I have stopped giving people that advice unless they have like a real hardcore problem that I can't solve any other way. The modern view of these lists and libraries, for the most part now, will address the vast majority of what anybody needs to do with a list. So they've grown to the point to where I think for a lot of people, they're not just acceptable, they really are more useful than the classic view, because the classic view you still have more options by going into the list settings and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as convenience for the average people, I think that they've gotten to parity now with the classic view.
I think you're right. They've come a long way. I haven't felt the need to go to the classic view to find a function or a feature in a couple of months now. Now, I will say this. I think it's important to, if not embrace, at least get used to the modern interfaces, because that's what's coming, right? We're going to move forward one way or another. Now, if you legitimately need to go to Classic, do it. Like Steven said, they're tracking it, so they're at least getting feedback indirectly that something's lacking in the modern view. But if I go into my advanced settings, excuse me, I do have the option somewhere down here. Here we go, list experience. This is not brand new, but they did not have this in here at first. You can, well, by default it's whatever's set up in the admin panel. But if you have a legitimate need to keep it in Classic, you can do that. But if you want to make sure your users are getting used to the new experience, by all means, you can set it to that. I click OK here and use my breadcrumb to go back out to the root of that list. I still have that return to classic SharePoint option. So you're missing a button. You can go back to classic and find it, but it will default back here after page refresh. So that is an option for you. So what have I think I've about covered it all. Let's do a...
I've got one more feature I want to point out for that modern list. And that is if you have a grouped view, so if you're grouping by like a choice column or some other grouping that you have on the list view, you can drag and drop items into different groups and it will edit the metadata on the fly.
Really?
So if you were, I don't know what kind of column that category is, but if you made a group on category, you should get 3 headers there, and you should be able to take one and drag it into the other, and it should update the category for you.
Great. I'm going to be playing with that later. Because I do love group views. Let's talk about group views for half a second. It's not exactly off topic, right? We still have a lot of people out there. Where's my...
Yeah, so when I was doing this, I had my own little choice field, and that's what I was going off of. I think category is probably...
Oh, I've got it as multiple choice. That's why it won't let me do it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. But if you are getting some people used to SharePoint and they're coming out of a file share, using grouped views can be a way to kind of get them away from folders but give them a familiar, organized interface. So I encourage you to go into your large libraries and see if you have like a category or a department or a document type column that you could group around. And it almost gives a folder look and feel, but no one has to choose a folder to put that item into. They just select the metadata tag that applies to it. Oh, this is a presentation. So you tag it as presentation. SharePoint does the organization for you. So it's a really nice little feature.
And one of the nice things about what Patrick just pointed out, like if you give people a choice between dragging something into a folder or choosing an option from a drop-down in a column, I think probably 75% of the time they'll choose drop it into a folder because it's just easier and it makes more sense to them.
Mm-hmm.
But if you do, group things by a category and you don't allow it to do multiple selections, and you can just drag and drop it, they will quickly forget that it's not a folder.
Yeah, because now it's really acting like one, just a little nicer.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. Way to go, Microsoft. So we've talked a lot about the treats. We've mentioned some tricks. Just to recap on the tricks here, my number one pet peeve, honestly, is not being able to have more than one news web part. But that's not necessarily a big deal. You can do a highlighted content web part and get it to look at pages and documents. There are workarounds. High-resolution pictures are practically going to be a must if you are going towards using these hero web parts, because that's really where it's going to shine. Not all of our web parts that we're used to are available yet, but if you've been in Office 365 and SharePoint Online for very long at all, changes come frequently. Literally you wake up one day and you go, oh, where'd that button come from? Oh, look, I can put 2 columns on my modern site page now. I couldn't do that yesterday. So you'll see changes come. Buckle up, but don't resist the urge to try to customize code or really work hard for some of these solutions. They're more than likely going to be coming. They're just not there yet. In your communication sites, you're only going to be able to use modern pages, and you have extremely limited app availability. And then on the pages, oh, go ahead, Stephen.
Well, I was just going to say, as proof of what you were just saying, if somebody had asked us all 6 months ago, we thought about the modern list view or the library view. If they caught us in a candid moment, we would have complained for an hour. But now we're all pretty good with it because they just slowly added back in things, and that's what they're going to do with the modern pages too.
Yeah, I think as technologists, we have a tendency to kind of roll our eyes sometimes when Microsoft does something, whether it's good or bad. We're like, oh yeah, Microsoft. But on the other hand, we're making a living with Microsoft technologies. But I will say they are being very responsive and reactive to the feedback they're getting from the community. So if you're paying attention to Microsoft's Office blogs, TechNet, things like that, and you're offering feedback, they are listening because we're seeing the things people request coming, whether it's in Teams, Delve, or here with our modern interfaces.
And we're the only ones who will tell you that. Microsoft will give you no heads up on that. They'll leave things just sitting in those forums, like people will request it month after month, and then one day it'll just appear. But no Microsoft rep is going to be like, oh, that'll be coming in October. They just don't do that part.
Yeah, well, it's almost like under promise and over deliver. You don't want to promise, because what if it's a lot harder to actually do?
Right. So don't get discouraged just because you don't see feedback.
Yep.
And talking about Microsoft changing stuff, at Ignite, they were talking about Q1. They're going to roll out hub sites, which since they're not really public yet, we can't demo them. But the idea is that the communication sites and the team sites that we showed you, they all have flat hierarchies, right? They're just a site collection. They're on their own. Hub sites you're gonna connect those communication sites and those team sites to a single hub site. You can roll up content from all the different whichever communication sites and team sites you connect to it. You can roll up that content into a single place, and search and roll up content across all the site collections. And I believe you're going to be able to pull down navigation for that as well. So that's something, I think that's supposed to come in like January or a little bit later, and when that comes, that'll definitely change the landscape for what modern pages do, or what they're going to be able to do. So something to keep in mind.
It sounds like that might meet a lot of the needs too of folks out there. They're like, well, I want this communication site for this, but I can't do this yet. Well, that hub site might be exactly the fill for that gap that we've been kind of looking for.
I'm hoping it'll be the fix for the navigation problem I was talking about.
Yeah, I think right now it has to be, when you choose those new modern experiences, it needs to be purpose built for a project or for a specific purpose, because we'll be able to build out the big, we'll see the bigger picture once they add that piece to it. But for now, it's like purpose-driven stuff. You have a project, you have a team that's focusing on one thing. That's what you want to surround a team site with. And then when they put a product out, that's what you want to focus the communication side on. And then we'll roll it up into something bigger later.
Sounds like I know what my February webinar theme is going to be. Hub sites.
Hopefully they roll it out.
That'd be great. All right. Well, I am showing a minute till. I think we've pretty much covered everything. I haven't seen any questions pop up. Oh, and I will say, GoToWebinar's question interface is not the best. So any questions that are out here, we will definitely respond to. Let me scroll. Branding opportunities. Patrick, you mentioned the color palette does work for the modern sites and the communication sites.
Yeah, but I think there was something I was seeing online that newer sites are getting rid of the themes folder. So you might have to use those SP color files and attach them via PowerShell, which I think Microsoft has a blog post about.
Gotcha.
I haven't done that. I've always just used the theme folder and upload them to the gallery there and attach them to a theme. But you can definitely customize the colors in the modern sites.
And Sandra was asking about using SharePoint publishing infrastructure with the modern experience. You cannot activate publishing in the communication sites. It's there, but it does not activate. I have not used it in the modern team sites yet, but I've not seen any reason why it would not work. Well, in fact, as I'm saying that, I'm thinking about the fact that you publish a page when you're ready for it to go live. So that almost sounds like publishing is turned on by default. A lot of word templates. We've not found any way to make it work in the modern. Okay, the question about using the word template.
I'm not sure exactly what they mean there, but I think probably they'll need to start using content types.
Yes. So if you create a custom content type in the content type gallery, when you do that, you will get an option to import your template. If you want, I'm going to put our contact information up here. Feel free to shoot any of us, or I'll volunteer me an email on that, and I can send you the instructions real quick for doing it. It's super simple.
And so if you're using .x files just in the library and you're trying to open them from there, Microsoft's answer to that would be you should be doing a content type, most likely.
Yes. And content types, once you start using your custom content types, man, it just opens up your search capabilities like you wouldn't believe.
And it makes your head hurt at first,
Yes.
because you're like, I just want to be able to put my expense report template in there so that they open it up and then save it as an expense report. And in their simplest form, content types can do that for you. And so you don't have to worry about the possibilities of search and all the other filtering things by content types and all that. That's all stuff that you just get for free from setting up a content type that says expense report in that new drop down. And then it just opens up the file, and then they can save it as an expense report. So you get what you want plus a whole bunch. a whole bunch more.
The usability goes way up because I don't know how often anyone ever just opens a blank Office document and starts to work every day, right? Okay. All right. I think we got through them. I think we ate about 3 minutes over on time. I do apologize for that. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you spending your Halloween lunch with us. I hope you got lots of good Halloween goodies. And thanks again. We'll see you guys next time. Thank you, Patrick and Stephen, for joining me today.
Thanks.